Welcome to the first episode of the Tectonic School podcast. For this episode, I wanted to talk to someone really special, and the person who immediately came to mind was Quentin Matson. He has decades of experience teaching industrial arts to students in many parts of the country, and beyond that, he's left an even bigger legacy as someone who cares for the people's spiritual well-being wherever he goes. In this video, you'll hear me refer to him as Papa, and though we're not related, he and his wife Helen are called Papa and Nana by pretty much everyone who knows them because they have a tendency to just adopt everybody as their own children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren. I got to know him when I first started going to his son-in-law's church, to the youth group there in high school, and over the years, got to work with him at the school and church, helping in various projects, and his influence is just enormous. And although Papa is absolutely unique, one reason why I really wanted to do this is to find other people who have great stories that will help encourage and bring wisdom to people's lives. And there are people like Papa all over in countless churches who serve faithfully and have a huge impact on their communities through the way that they love God, through the use of the gifts that they've been given. So I really hope you enjoy this conversation. If you know someone like Papa that you think would be a good guest to be on this podcast, please get in touch. I'd love to hear their story and share it with the world. Thank you. Hi, Papa.
Hey there.
How you doing?
Brother of the brush, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Is it starting to get a little green out there yet, or?
Well, we got tulips coming up and some daffodils, but other than that, a few places I can see a few blades barely sticking through.
Tulips are coming up.
Well, that's good.
Tulips and the daffodils are up.
So, did Sherry show you the video I made, or any of that?
No, she did not.
Oh, okay. Did she? Oh, well,
she told me that you're doing something about trying to link up old guys with young guys, or something like that.
Yeah, well, so my idea was, something kind of like the Master's Commission program that we used to have, but with an element of learning how to do a trade, and obviously any churches that have some folks that can teach some of that stuff, because it was a great experience that I had, but I didn't learn anything there that I could make any money off of. So that was a little bit of a downside. So, fortunately, I learned a few things from my dad and figured out some other stuff along the way. So, but
you did some awesome stuff when you were working at the barn there after you moved over to the big barn.
Yeah. Well, that was a pretty great opportunity.
You did some awesome stuff.
Thank you. Well, you're the expert though on teaching trades and things like that. So how long did you do that for?
Well, in a way, I started making my own toys when I was about 10 years old.
Wow.
I made a toy tractor, and the banker came to our house, my dad's guy that had the mortgage on the farm. And he came to the house and he saw that tractor and he was wowed. He said, "I'll give you $10 for that." Man, it didn't cost me anything. I was flabbergasted. I said, "Okay." And years later, after I'd been in the Navy and got out, I used that same bank for a loan, and I was there and I saw that tractor posted. His son had kept that thing.
Wow. And that
So
$10 is a lot more back then.
yeah,
So
yeah. So that wasn't the big deal, but I've been doing stuff like that. That was all hand tools in those days, just hand tools. I didn't have any power tools at all. But I grew up on a farm,
mm,
and you're always fixing something on a farm. Sometimes you use baling wire to hold it together. Sometimes you scab another board on. Uh, when I went to last 3 years of high school was a vocational agriculture high school, residential. So I'd go there beginning of October and I stay there until the end of March. And we had classes kind of like on a college basis. Every hour on the hour, there was a different class.
mm,
And so I could have classes possibly from 8 in the morning to the last one, 5 in the afternoon. I never had that many, but
wow.
it was kind of like, when what you're signed up for, you go to that, and then you got some time off, go to the Aggie Inn is what our Gedunk joint was called.
Mm,
So I learned in the 10th grade, I learned blacksmithing.
wow.
Yeah. To pass the course, you had to make 18 inches of chain out of 5/16 inch cold rolled steel, and forge weld it. You couldn't use a welder or torch or anything. You just had to do it in the forge. So that was a good thing. The next semester, I did arc welding. No, it's just I think we did both arc and acetylene because I don't remember ever doing a separate one just for acetylene. So that was 10th grade, 11th grade. Uh, one semester, a buddy and I totally tore down a 38 Plymouth engine and rebuilt it, put it back in the 3 months we had to do that. I don't remember how many hours a week we had class, but we got her back in. The next semester, we did a tractor. Same way, tore that engine all the way down and rebuilt. And so this is kind of my high school stuff. As far as wood shop, I never had a class in wood shop.
Hmm.
They had them there, but I didn't take it. I did other things. So my wood shop has been what I just kind of learned on my own. Watching other helping people, we built houses. When I taught in North Carolina, that was adults. And on a Saturday morning, we met a truck there pretty early in the morning with all the parts on it, and we had a house dried in before the sun went down.
Wow.
That was me and I don't know 15, 20 other students my students that were taking these courses.
How much experience did they have prior to starting that education with that kind of stuff?
These guys in Carolina there, they had to be 18 and they couldn't be over 35. And they had to have not graduated. Anyway, most of them couldn't read. Okay. And that's why they were in the program. So half the day there was another teacher that taught them reading, writing, filling out
Up to sixth grade.
applications and insurance policies and driver's license and these kinds of things. The other half a day, I had them, and we did small engines. We did basic carpentry stuff. We did electrical. Not much plumbing, very little plumbing. And so most of them had zilch experience when they came in.
Okay.
Most of them were young guys that never learned to read in high school, and they had to be married to get in the program. So one of the guys that first went through my introductory part of it, and then he went over to the residential area for welding, and I would say he's probably in the welding program for 4 to 6 months. He went up to Newport News, Virginia, and got a job in the shipyard. So this was back in 69 or 70. And one Friday, they got off early on Fridays. So he came back down where he used to live to where I had the school there. And he showed me his check. And he didn't know whether to cry or laugh, because he said they took out $35 in federal income tax this week. He said, that's how much I used to make when I worked all week long, all day. It was very, very, very fulfilling.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of the thought I had, because right, I guess I say now it's like with college degrees, it's 60% girls, only 40% boys graduating college, and then even the jobs that you can get with a bachelor's degree, I don't know, it's hit or miss, So,
how many guys do you know that got a degree in college and never worked a day in what they went to school for?
A lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, we got to get back to reality.
And how so those guys didn't have any experience. Did pretty much all of them stick with the program, and or for a good percentage?
Yeah. After I got done with them, they went to the residential area, and they had 3 choices over there. It is either welding, automotive mechanics, or construction trades, they called it. And that was mostly carpentry. Very little electrical that they did over there. But they'd had some electrical with me before. So, it was a good deal for them. And of course, 99% were black. Because in Carolina, here's the response we'd get. We'd go find a guy good candidate. We had recruiters to bring him into us. Find a candidate we think would be a good guy. Well, he said, I may be Poe, but I ain't no nigga. It wouldn't come in. I only had one white guy of all the time I was ever there. And he was older than most of them. He was probably 35 and had 2-3 kids already, but he didn't know how to read and write. I don't remember what happened with him. Some of them I know what happened, but a lot of them in the automotive trades, they'd go out and they'd get a job at a local garage, or sometimes just a service station, or someplace that did auto repair, We didn't do body repair. We just did engines and brakes and mufflers and stuff like that.
So after that, then you were teaching high school kids, or
Yeah, then see, that was a grant. No, yeah, a grant from the Labor Department to a development association, a 4-county development association in Carolina that applied for and got this grant. And then they hired RCA Service Corporation to do the teaching. And that's who I worked for, is RCA Service Corporation. And of course, when Nixon came in, anything that Johnson started was, so I lost my job. They cut the funding.
Yeah.
But it was good while it lasted.
Yeah. Well, that was, I kind of had the idea too, because talking to people and, there's always thoughts about like, you should start a corporation or do any of these things. But I just figured any of those kind of, hoops just make it more difficult, So the way I see it is that the local churches has a lot of the resources you probably need, or even if it doesn't have people who maybe do stuff professionally, people that are competent and can do stuff helping other people, and you can count that, you can put that on a resume as experience, even if you're not an employee or whatever. Which is, I didn't know, I had never applied for a job like what I do now. I kind of fell into what I was doing at the Blessing Barn, but but people don't care about what your education is, or they care if you can do the job.
Can you do the job?
Yeah.
That's it.
So that's all you need to know. You just need to learn how to do the skills, and learning how to teach yourself, I guess, to know if you haven't tried it before, but you'll be able to figure it out. So yeah.
So, do you remember Dan Sullivan?
Yep.
Have you talked to Sherry about this?
I didn't. She sent me a picture of you guys working on something.
Oh, okay. So you haven't really talked much about her about this. Mm-hmm. Dan, right now he's on. He had shingles so bad and it hurt his eye, and he's on pretty heavy medication, but he can't do his regular job. He's on leave or whatever. So he decided to come over to the barn and work with me, and he's been a great help. And we're putting up a storage shed, 8x10 storage shed, and he's doing most of the work. I'm kind of, I can hold stuff now and then, but I'm kind of crippled up. But he's doing great.
That's good.
Now what Sherry envisioned when she started this is to put together something that just keep her lawnmowers and wheelbarrows and stuff like that out of the rain. This is the stuff that the barn uses for upkeep around there,
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to use old pallets and used lumber and all that. And I said, sure, we try. So we've got the 4 corner posts up and plates on it right now. And if I was going to build a shed, I wouldn't do it like that, but this is a way to do it. And Sherry thinks that it'll be okay to just put some pallets now in between those frames. And I'm going to do that and let her look at it, and I don't think she's going to like it.
Yeah.
So I priced out what it would cost to build a shed that will look nice and everything. And I'm going to throw that at her and see if she wants to go for it. I hope she will. She owns the property that it's going to be sitting on, you know. She and Phil bought the house and the greenhouse. So they own that. And that's where this little shed is going to be sitting. So, what do you got? A garage or a room, or your tools out there?
Yeah, I'm in my garage. I made one wall kind of nice looking so that I could make videos in here. The rest of it's all disorganized, but yeah,
that looks good.
Yeah, we got it. So this was fun. So all that it's all cherry crown molding, and I just put it on the backside because they were cleaning it all out of the warehouse at my work. So
yeah,
it's a nice. I mean, I don't know how much. It's probably a couple $1,000 if you had to pay for it. But.
Sure. Yeah, that's the way we used to do a lot of our stuff when I was teaching these guys in Carolina. There was a furniture factory about 30 miles away, and they'd give me a lot of furniture grade plywood. And that's what we made a lot of our stuff, furniture stuff. And yeah. But our more construction, we actually went out and built house.
Yeah.
Put together a house. There's the guy that he owned land. His family owned some land. They gave him a piece of it. They legally, partitioned it off and everything. Then using that land, he had equity and he could afford to buy this factory built house that came to us on a truck, and they sent a crane, and with our guys, we put that together and drywalled it in. Three bedroom ranch house. One day.
Wow. Yeah, there's yeah. So out here, it's everything. It used to be a ranch, but they're all subdivisions now. But they have the name of whatever the ranch used to be.
Oh yeah.
So
sure.
That's but somebody told me they usually throw away about 2 or 3 houses worth of material every year in each of these neighborhoods. So if you need free stuff, I mean, it can be pretty abundant. But okay. So the other thing I want to ask you about, obviously, besides being involved in these, you've been involved in church for a long time. And how has God used your skills to help build His kingdom? And
well, every church we like in Grand Forks, there wasn't any building. That's where we went to college. So we didn't build anything there, and most of the time I was either working or going to school. So it wasn't much there. But once we went to Hawaii, the very first church we got, they were building when we got there. And so I knew electrical, and I probably wired 90% of that church. There was a licensed electrician that lived in Honolulu that pulled the permits, and he'd check everything. But I probably did 90% of the wiring. And
when that one was done, you went to another one.
Yeah. When that was done, I went to another church that we built over there. So that was 4 years. Back in mainland down in Florida, I helped. I didn't do it all. I helped do a flat top roof over the Sunday school department. I'd never done that before, but the pastor had contractor's license, and so he knew what to do, and he showed us what to do, and so I did that there. I don't remember.
Didn't you wire his house?
Whose house?
Lowry's.
I don't think so.
A house.
I don't remember doing it. So after we left Florida, we were in Alabama for 3 months. I didn't do anything I worked at a gas station there, make some extra money.
Yeah.
But, then we went to North Carolina, and 4 years. I told you about that already.
Yep.
And then we moved to New Bedford, where I taught in Fairhaven. 20 years. I had the metal shop there. And so it was, when I got there, it was 7, 8, and 9. And I had 8th graders for every 8th grader for a introductory metal shop. And we did mostly sheet metal, wrought iron. Yeah, it was mostly sheet metal and wrought iron. Then we had 9th grade elective, and we did welding. We did poured aluminum, melted aluminum and made aluminum castings. One kid made a snow plow. Another kid made a trailer.
Wow.
Another, yeah. When he brought a garden tractor in, and we made a snow plow for it. And the first year I was there, I never taught metal shop before, so I was kind of floundering a little bit, and had them do for the main project a hand truck. And it cost them. They had to pay $19 and something, but they got everything. And I've refurbished the one I built for the sample about twice, but I'm still using it. New wheels.
Yeah.
New wheels, but still using that thing. So that was, and there I never built a church, but we started pastoring a church there that grew out of a Bible study in our home.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably heard of the Catholic Charismatic Renewal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we got into that kind of by accident, and got pretty well pulled into it. I taught Bible at the Our Lady's Chapel for about a year before some other unsavory people came in and messed it up. And I can't remember if it was the bishop or just the leader of that chapel said, no more un-Catholic teachers.
No.
I'm going to keep it in the house. But we'd already started a Bible study in our home, and we had 95% Roman Catholics that were there. And most of them were still going to church, but they got saved, and many of them got baptized in the Holy Ghost, and they wanted to go on. And finally, 2 kids, they were probably about 8 and 10 years old. They said, Dad, we honor you, and if you say we're going to go to church at the Catholic Church, we'll go there with you, but we don't get anything out of it. And the dad and the mom, they said, well, we don't get much either. So they decided that we ought to start our own church. And so we did.
Hmm.
It we began using a rented Quaker house for a while, and then we used the basement. Yeah, we were getting more people at our meeting than the Quakers were, and it bothered some of them. Yeah, we had it
Well,
at night, and I guess it irritated some of them, so they cut us off. So then we went to a basement of a home that one of our parishioners owned, and we were there for a while. Then we rented the second floor, or about half of the second floor of a downtown building, and that's where we stayed until things fell apart for us.
hmm.
Our son got killed, and it
You were there for a long time.
yeah, we were there a few years.
Didn't
I did a lot of stuff there. I built stuff that uh, actually, one thing I built for that is still down in the shop at Bethany. You know, when you come in the pedestrian door, you'd walk in the
Yeah.
door, and right in front of you was kind of a steel cabinet. On what you saw on the front of it was just steel, but the backside of it was open with shelves and stuff in it, and they had electrical boxes there, so you had electricity in the thing and everything. I built that for our church, for the kitchen.
Hmm.
But then when the bank that bought it kind of threw us out, they said they were going to remodel that building, and they needed the space, so we had to go. But I've always built. When I was at school, we had AV carts. Do you know what an AV cart is?
Yeah.
Audiovisual cart.
Hmm.
It would have a overhead and 16 millimeter and maybe a slide projector on it, and they'd move it around whatever teacher needed it. Usually there was a club in the school that would do that when they weren't in a regular class. Anyway, the principal brought down one of them, and it was pretty thin metal, and it was pretty rotten, not very good. So I asked him if he'd like for me to build one. And he said, sure. He said, if you can do it. So I built one, and it was solid, and it had good wheels.
gonna last for the millennium.
And so he was pretty psyched about that. So I don't know, I probably built 6 or 7 more of those. So that principle was anything I needed, I could have.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, I scratch your back and you scratch mine.
Well, and that was so. I mean, you were, pastoring and all that stuff too. I was thinking,
Well,
that
we didn't start pastoring until I moved there in 72.
yeah.
And we started pastoring, I think in 83, maybe. About that.
Well, what I wanted to ask is, I mean, I guess you could say, I kind of figured out because seeing my dad being a pastor in a small church,
Yeah.
it's really helpful to have, he kind of fell into that position too. So, but he had learned how to, do some things and maintain a building and help other people in their homes and things like that. And
yeah,
it's a very important thing. They don't usually teach you at a seminary or, so I mean, because that was my thought too. Is I was thinking, even if because I went to a program because I wanted to work in the church and do that
Yeah.
sort of thing,
Yeah.
but and I happen to have some of those skills, but I didn't learn them from the program.
Yeah.
But the people that don't learn them from somewhere else, they're maybe in for a little bit of a rude awakening when they're, if they have a small church and there's nobody else that can kind of help with that stuff.
Had
So-
we already bought the property in Whitensville when you left?
Yeah.
There's a pretty big garage there.
Yeah.
You know that?
I think I had noticed that, but
We didn't buy the building first. Steph,
Mike,
Mike Mattan.
Mike Matson
Okay.
bought it first. And when we first saw that garage, there were some of us thought, we have some men in our church that are mechanics that could use that garage and fix up some single mom's car so she has dependable transportation to go to work. And it was talked about, never got off the ground. Do you remember Ed?
and Abby.
Ed and Abby.
Mm,
They had a boy and
They
a
moved to
girl.
Virginia probably about the time you got really connected with us.
yeah, I don't know. Doesn't
Anyway,
Yeah.
he started something we called God's Handyman,
yeah.
and it worked for a while.
I thought
it was going to be a going thing.
Wentworth.
Yeah, do you remember John Wentworth, the
Mhm.
dad?
Yeah.
Well,
John,
he kind of took it over,
and he did something.
and we helped some old people. One lady up on Congress Street, real old lady, she's not able to care for her property anymore. We went over and did it for a few times. And then John got his tail in a knot about something. I can't remember what it was. And he kind of left us for about a year or more. And when that happened, all that stuff got dropped. You got to have somebody that's got a passion that'll kind of see it through,
Yeah.
And you don't always have to have the guy that can do the work to coordinate. Sometimes you just need a coordinator that's got a lot of people skills and can get other people to do things. But our pastor Phil, he jokes about it all the time. He doesn't do much in any skill stuff, But the thing we love about Phil is that he would try.
Yeah.
And it's not that he's too good to do it. He's just not very good at it,
In North Carolina, you built furniture for the Sunday school that was still there 10 years later.
Yeah, that's another thing. Well, it's more than 10 years, honey. It's about 20 years later. Yeah. So I've done stuff like that through the years. But one time we'd had a men's meeting, and we got over probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock. And everybody had gone, but we had a problem. The sewage backed up into the kitchen. It didn't come out on the floor or anything, but it wouldn't go down. And so I said, we'll figure it out. I planned to do it, but Phil didn't lead me. he stuck right there until we got that thing done.
Hmm. Yeah, I always saw him doing stuff. Definitely. And I think that that is an important thing, because if you see the pastor who, we go and we listen to him on Sunday, and he's plunging a toilet or cleaning stuff up, moving chairs, whatever,
Yeah.
you kind of, well, then he said, well, he's being like Jesus. He's
Yeah.
not he's not being putting himself in a position of over others. He's leading by example.
Yep.
So yeah, I thought, man, that was really great. Like, kind of that my thought too is there to do something like that, helping people in the church, single moms and people who have these needs, but then also to bring some of these young guys along, because when we were doing the youth stuff, I never felt at the most comfortable, when it was like games night or whatever. I just don't know what I'm doing. But I remember, there was a couple times where I did take a kid with me to build something at the barn or whatever, and then I remember one kid saying, like, that was the most fun day that he'd ever had or whatever, or one of the best times, and
Yeah.
and I think that unfortunately, whether that's just not, I look back and I think when I complained about all the times that my dad would take me to go fix stuff at my grandmother's house or mow somebody's lawn or paint houses in the summer, but the looking back at it now, it was such a valuable experience.
Yeah.
And it was a great time to spend time with my dad like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think that maybe my idea was that maybe there's a lot of men who maybe don't think that they are eloquent enough to be up on stage or something like that, but just by spending time with kids or young men and doing some of this stuff that they know how to do,
Yeah.
it's a very powerful thing that can do a lot of good.
Yeah, if you can be proud, if it's okay to be proud, I look at that platform, and those are my kids up there,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so proud. Last Sunday, I caught Pablo. Remember Pablo?
Mm-hmm.
I caught him. He's on the way out after the first service, and I'm on the way in for the second. And Helen had already gone in, so I didn't have to rush after her right away. We just talked a while, and man, it's good to talk to that kid. He's appreciative of what he learned, and not only what he learned to do with his hands, but to serve.
Mm-hmm.
Another person is Shane.
Oh yeah, Shane.
Amazing.
Shane he's pretty amazing.
I plan to talk to Shane too soon. So
Yeah.
So how, and obviously, after your time in the public school, then you were at Bethany teaching shop for how long?
I did 20 years, took 1 year off, and then I did part-time the next year because Troy's mom died. And he was pretty overwhelmed. So I did the first, second, and third grade that next year.
And
that's the group he liked the least.
Yeah.
I loved them.
Yeah. Well, so how do you? So that's what do you do with a kid who doesn't know anything? Like, where do you start?
Oh, you give them a hammer and some nails and a block of wood, and they make a game out of it. They see who can do the best and who can do the most. And, some people aren't good at it. It just happens. But then maybe that same kid, when it comes time to paint something, he's an artist, He can do it really good. And some of them probably don't ever get it, but we had, I used to teach electricity in the 7th grade. That's all we did. We didn't do any other shop stuff. Some of the kids, they thought it was going to be terrible. They just, no shop, just going to do electricity, because we did bookwork and problems and all kinds of stuff like that year. But I don't know how many kids have come to me afterwards and say, wow, that was a good thing we did. Because number one, it took away fear. It left the awe of electricity and the power that can hurt you, but they were not afraid to try it, and they knew how to do it safely. So that's been a good thing.
And that's probably something that having that experience in one area, it makes it easier to deal with unknowns in other parts of your life.
Oh, sure. And it's fun to watch them as they discover, kind of on their own sometimes, That is a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe the last thing I wanted to ask then, kind of that regard, is, what is it? How have you been blessed and learned and grown in your relationship with God through, doing all these things, knowing him as a creator and seeing all the ways that he's kind of made this world to be put together?
Well, he's just proven to me so many, many times, if you go by the book, you can expect good results.
Yeah.
And the book makes room for mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of warns you to do your best to learn from your mistakes so you don't make the same one over and over again.
Yeah.
And, I've told many people when I came up here and started teaching in 94, through that next year, I felt like I'd been born again. I had a new life. We made probably 90% of the school furniture in those days. And not only me, I was there, but I'd have dads come in and help me, and bulletin boards, yeah.
Dividers.
Yeah. Subdivide. Bob McGaw, he said, here, he said, if we're going to grow, we just subdivide. I don't know how many different rooms Phil's had an office in,
Yeah.
He's so good natured about it. Sherry will say, oh, we need that for something else. And he'll just take what happens, and he's just very good natured. But he didn't really love having to be where the kids were all the time. It was distracting.
Oh, yeah.
One day he's out in the hallway in the first building, down there by where the church office was. Had this little boy. He walked up beside Phil, tapped him on the leg, and he said, "Pastor Phil, you want to go pee with me?"
That's why he wanted his own office.
Yeah. You know, God has proven himself over and over and over and over again. Now, I remember when Mandy said to me, I think maybe you'd asked her on a date. I'm not sure. I know you
Yeah.
weren't really going together yet.
Yeah.
And she says, "Well, what do you think of Mike Sartori?" I said, "Well, I think he's a good guy. I think you ought to give it a try." And when I heard Erica Smith sing the song at your wedding, I thought, wow, that song must have been written for Mandy and Mike. I found out later it wasn't. It someone else had written it, but do you remember it?
I do. I'll have to listen to
The
it
theme
again.
of it is Mandy's all flying, but
Yeah.
she's got an anchor down there to keep her from flying away. And, you know, I treasure those memories.
Well, I'm very thankful that you said I was a good guy.
Well, my wife really affirmed it. I don't think she asked my wife about it, but I observed. I observed. Are you doing anything with your guitars now?
I play sometimes. It's a little tricky because Mandy's in charge of the children's church, so I have to bring the girls back and forth on Sundays. So if I'm gonna play guitar, then it's extra work to get
Okay.
somebody to take care of the girls. So it's been a little while, but I usually was
Do you miss it?
sometimes. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I'll probably be able to again
Well,
soon.
as your kids get a little bit older, it might free you up for some of that again.
Yeah. But
Well, it's been a thrill knowing you and watching you grow together. I've
Thank
watched you fight. And
yeah.
I say anybody that says their marriage they never fight, they're not real.
But they did never have the chance.
But you need to know how to fight fair.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain words you just shouldn't ever use, and always make up afterward. Yeah. Yep, we celebrated our 70th anniversary just before Christmas.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in a couple weeks you can do it again. You can meet the new baby.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'll have to get Susan up here to do that kind of stuff because I am illiterate.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to turn my ringer on my cell phone.
Well, you're not missing anything.
That was what was nice when Matt was here.
Yeah, it was nice. We used to bring Matt or Josh up pretty often to help us get squared away. But Susan's good too.
Okay. Well, I have her email now, so I can get a hold quicker for things. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much for talking.
Let's pray before we separate. Father, it's so good to be in the arms of the everlasting God. who loves us, who says we can ask him anything, and he never calls us dummy for asking a dumb question. Thank you, Lord, for Mike and Mandy and those 2 girls and the new one. God, we're just so thankful and grateful. I pray that you bless Mike as he endeavors to put something together here. Don't let him get discouraged, but let him keep on and touching more people. And I think it's all going to come together. Thank you, Lord, for what you're doing in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you.
Love
Thank
you,
you.
Mike.
Love you too. Good night. Good night now.
Good night.
If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and check the links below in the description for other ways that you can get involved and help. Thank you.